The complete works of Swami Vivekananda, Volume 1, Section 4, the Gita, Bhagavad Gita, Lecture 1. Lecture delivered in San Francisco on May 26, 1900. To understand the Gita requires its historical background. Gita is a commentary on the Upanishads. The Upanishads are the Bibles of India. They occupy the small place at the New Testament does. There are more than 100 books comprising the Upanishad, some very small and some big, each a separate treatise. The Upanishad do not reveal the life of any teacher, but simply teach principles. They are, as it were, shorthand notes taken down of discussion in learned assemblies, generally in the courts of kings. The word Upanishad may mean sitting or sitting near the teacher. Those of who those of you who may have studied some of the Upanishad can understand how they are condensed to shorthand sketches. After long discussions had been held, they were taken down, possibly from memories. The, the The difficulty is that you get very little of the background. Only the luminous points are mentioned there. The origin of the ancient Sanskrit is 5000 BC. The Upanishads are at least 2000 years before that. Nobody knows exactly how old they are. The Gita takes the idea of the Upanishad and is, in some cases, the very words. They are strung together with the idea of bringing out in a compact, condensed, and systematic form the whole subject the Upanishad deals with. The original scriptures of Hindus are called the Vedas. They were so vast, the mass of writings, that if the text alone were brought here, this room would not contain them. Many of them are lost. They were divided into branches, each branch put into the head of certain priest and kept alive by memory. Such men still exist. They will repeat book after book of the Vedas without missing a single intonation. The larger portion of the Vedas has disappeared. The small portion left makes the whole library by itself. The oldest of these contain the hymns of Rig Vedas. It is the aim of the modern scholars to restore the sequence of the Vedic composition. The old orthodox idea is quite different, as your orthodox idea of the Bible is quite different from the modern scholars. The Vedas are divided into two portions, one Upanishad and other Upanishad, that is the philosophical portion, and other the work portion, that is karma. We will try to give a little idea of the work portion. It consists of rituals, hymns, and various hymns addressed to various gods. The ritual portion is composed of ceremonies, some of them very elaborated. A great many priests are required. The priestly function became a science by itself, owing to the elaboration of the ceremonials. Gradually, the popular idea of veneration grew around the hymns and rituals. The god disappeared, and in their places were left the rituals. That was the curious development in India. The Orthodox Hindu, the Mimamsa, does not believe in God. The unorthodox believe in them. If you ask the Orthodox Hindu what is meant if is of this god in the Vedas, he will not be able to give any satisfactory answer. The priest sings these hymns, and pours libation and offering into fire. When you ask the Orthodox Hindu the meaning of this, he says that the word have the power to produce certain effects. That is all. That is all the natural and supernatural powers that ever existed. The Vedas are simply words that have the mystical power to produce effects if the sound intonation is right. If one sound is wrong, it will not do. Each one must be perfect. Thus, what is in other religion is called as prayers disappeared and the Vedas became the gods. So you see the tremendous importance that was attached to the words of the Vedas. These are the eternal words out of which the whole universe has been produced. There cannot be any thought without the word. Thus, whatever there is in the world is manifested of thought or is manifestation of thoughts, and thoughts can only manifest itself through words. This mass of words by which the unmanifested thought becomes manifested, that is what is meant by Vedas. It follows that the external existence of everything depends on the Vedas for thoughts, does not exist without words. If the word horse did not exist, none could think of the horse. So there must be an intimate relationship between thoughts, words, and external objects. What are these words in reality? The Vedas. They do not call it Sanskrit language at all. It is the Vedic language, a divine language. Sanskrit is a degenerate form. So are all other languages. There is no language older than Vedic language. You ask, you may ask, who wrote these Vedas? They were not written. The words are Vedas. The word is Ved, if I can pronounce it rightly. Then we all immediately produce the desired effect. This mass of Vedas internally exists, and all the world is the manifestation of this mass of words. Then, when the cycle ends, all this manifestation of energy becomes finer and finer, becomes only words, then thoughts. In the next cycle, the first thought changes into words, and then out of those words, the whole universe is produced. If there is something here that is not in the Vedas, that is your delusion. It does not exist. Numerous books upon that subject alone defend the Vedas. If you tell their author that Vedas must have been pronounced by men first, they will simply laugh. You never heard of any man uttering them for the first time, that Buddha's words. There is a tradition that he lived and spoke these words many times before. If the Christians stand up and say, my religion is the historical religion, therefore you are yours is wrong and ours is true. The Mimamsa replied, yours being historical, you confess that men invented it 90 100 years ago. That which is true must be infinite and eternal. That is the one test of truth. It never decays, it is always the same. You confess your religion you created by such and such a man. The Vedas were not, no by no prophet or anything. Only infinite words, infinite by their very nature, from which the whole universe comes and goes. In the abstract, it is perfectly correct. The sound must be the beginning of creation. There must be gem sounds. There must be a gem sound like gem plasma. There cannot be any ideas without the words. Wherever there are sensations, ideas, emotion, there must be words. The difficulty is when they say that these four books are the Vedas and nothing else. Then the Buddhists will stand up and say, ours are Vedas. They were revealed to us later on. That cannot be. The nature does not go on in that way. Nature does not manifest her laws bit by bit, an inch of gravitation today and another inch tomorrow. No, every law is complete. There is no evolution in law at all. It is given once for and forever. It is all nonsense. This new religion and better inspiration and all that, it means nothing. There may be 100,000 laws and men may know only the few today. We discover them that is all. Those other priests, with their tremendous claims about eternal words, having dethroned the gods, took the place of gods. They said, you do not understand the power of words. We know how to use them. We are living gods of the world. Pay us. We will manipulate the word and you will get what you want. Can you pronounce the word yourself? You cannot. For your mind you, one mistake will produce the opposite effect. You want to be a rich, handsome, have a long life, a fine husband, may only pay the priest and keep quiet. Yet there is another side. The idea of the first part of Vedas is entirely direct from the idea of the other part, that is the Upanishad. The idea of the first part coincides with that of all other religion of the world except the Vedanta. The idea of enjoyment here and hereafter, man and wife, husband and children. Pay your dollars and the priest will give you certificate and you will have a happy time afterward in heaven. You will find all your happy time afterward in heaven. You will find all people there and have the merry-go-round without end. No tears, no weeping, only laughing. No stomach ache, but at eating. No headache, but at parties. That considered the priest was the highest goal of man. There is another idea in this philosophy which is according to your modern ideas. Man is a slave of nature, and a slave eternally he has got to remain. We call it karma. Karma means law and it applies everywhere. Everything is bound by karma. Is there no way out? No. Remain slave all through the years. Find slaves. We will manipulate the world so that you will only have the good and not the bad side of all. If you will pay us enough. That was the idea of Mimamsa. These are the ideas which are popular throughout the ages. The vast mass of mankind are never thinkers. Even if they try to think, the effect of the vast mass of superstitions on them is terrible. The moment they weaken, one blow comes and backbone break into 20 pieces. They can only be moved by lures and threats. They can never move of their own accord. They must be frightened, horrified, or terrorized, and they are your slaves forever. They have nothing else to do but to pay and obey. Everything else is done by the priest. How much easier religion becomes. You see, you have nothing to do. Go home and sit quietly. Somebody is doing the whole thing for you, poor, poor animal. Side by side, there was the other system, the Upanishad are diametrically opposite in all their conclusions. First of all, the Upanishad believe in God, the creator of the universe, its ruler. You find later on the idea of the beginning providence. It is the entirely opposite concept now. Although we hear the priest, the idea is much more subtle. Instead of many gods, they made one God. The complete idea that you are all bound by the law of karma, the Upanishad admits, but they declare the way out. The goal of man is to go beyond law, and enjoyment can never be the goal because enjoyment can only be the nature. In the third place, the Upanishad condemn all the sacrifice and say that is mummery. That may give you all you want, but it is not desirable. For the more of you get, the more you want, and you run round and round in the circle eternally, never getting to the end, enjoyment and weeping. Such a thing as eternal happiness is impossible anywhere. It is only the child's dream. The same energy becomes joy and sorrow. I have changed my philosophy or and psychology a bit today. I have found the most curious fact. You have a certain idea and you do not want to have it, and you think of something else, and the idea you want to suppress is entirely suppressed. What is that idea? I saw it come out of the 15 minutes. I came out and I staged me. It was strong, and it came in such a violent and terrible fashion that I thought there here was a madman. And when it was over, all that had happened was a suppression of the previous emotion. What came out? It was my own bad impression, which had to be worked out. Nature will have her way. What can suppression do? That is terrible statement in the Gita. It seems it may be vain struggle after all. You may have 100,000 urges competing at the same time. You may repress them, but the moment the spring rebounds, the whole thing is there again. But there is hope. If you are powerful enough, you can divide your consciousness into 20 parts all at the same time. I am changing my psychology. Mine grows. That is what the yogi says. There is one passion and is roses another. It roses another, and the first one dies. If you are angry and then happy, the moment the anger passes away, out of the anger you manufacture the next state. These states are always interchangeable. Entire, entire, Eternal happiness and misery are the child's dream. The Upanishad points out the goal of the man is neither misery nor happiness, but we have to be master of that out of which these are manufactured, and we must be masters of the situation at its very root, as it were. The other point of divergency is the Upanishad condemns all rituals, especially those that involve the killing of animals. They declare those are nonsense. One school of old philosophers say that you must kill such an animal that at a certain time if the effect is to be produced. You may reply, but there is also the sin of taking the life of the animal. You will have to suffer for that. They say that it's all nonsense. How do you know what is right and what is wrong? Your mind says so. Who cares what your mind says? What nonsense are you talking? You are setting your mind against the scriptures. If your mind says something and Vedas say something else, stop your mind and believe in the Vedas. If they say killing a man is right, that is right. If you say no, my conscience says otherwise, it won't do. The moment you believe in any book has the eternal word or a sacred word, no more can you question. I do not see how you people here believe in Bible whenever you say about it. How wonderful those words are, how right, how good. Because if you believe in the Bible or as the word of God, you have no right to judge at all. The moment you judge, you think you are higher than the Bible, then what is the use of the Bible to you? The priest says, we refuse to make the comparison with yours, Bible, or anybody's. It is no use comparing because what is the authority? There is ends. There it ends. If you think something is not right, go and get it right according to the Vedas. The Upanishad believe in that, but they have a higher standard too. On the one hand, they do not want to overthrow the Vedas, and on the other, they say this animal sacrifice and the priest stealing everyone's money. But is a psychology, they are all alike. All the difference have been in the philosophy regarding the nature of the soul. Has it a body and a mind? And is a mind only the bundle of nerves, the motor nerves and the sensory nerves? Psychology, they all take for granted, is a perfect science. There cannot be any difference there. All the fight has been regarding philosophy, the nature of soul and God and all that. Then another great difference between the priest and Upanishads. The Upanishads say renounce. That is the test of everything. Renounce everything. It is the creative faculty that brings us into all this entanglement. The mind is in its own nature when it is claimed calm. The moment you can calm it, that very moment you will know the truth. What is it that is willing the mind? The imagination, creative activity. Stop creating creation and you know the truth. All power of creation must stop and then you know the truth at once. On the other hand, the priests are all for creation. Imagine a species of life in which there is no creation activity. It is unthinkable. The people had to have a plan to of evolving a stable society. A system of rigid selected or selection was adopted. For instance, no people who are blind or halt can be married. As a result, you will find so much less deformity in India than in any other country in the world. Epileptics and insane people are very rare there. There is owing to direct selection. The priest says, let them become sannyasins. On the other hand, the Upanishad says, oh no, the earth's best and the fine and the fresh flower should be laid upon the altar. The strong, the young, with sound intellect and sound body, they must struggle for truth. So, with all these divergences of options, I have told you that the priest already differentiated themselves into a separate caste. The second is the caste of the kings. All the Upanishadic philosophy is from the brains of the kings, not priests. There runs an economic struggle through every religion's struggle. This animal called man, this animal called man has some religious influence, but he is guided by economy. Individuals are guided by something else, but the mass of mankind never made a move unless economy was evolved. You may preach a religion that may not be perfect in every details, but if there is an economic background to it and you have the most ardent champions to preach it, you can convince a whole country. Whenever any religion succeeds, it must have economic value. Thousands of similar sects will be struggling for power, but only those who meet the real economic problem will have it. Man is guided by the stomach. He walks and the stomach goes first and the head afterward. How you not see that? It will take ages for the head to go first. By the time a man is 60 years of age, is called out of the world. The whole of the life is one delusion, and just when you begin to see things this way, the way they are, you are snatched off. So long as the stomach went first, you were all right. When the children's dreams begin to vanish and you begin to look at the things the way they are, the head goes. Just when the head goes first, you go out. For the religion of Upanishad to be popularized was a hard task. Very little economy is there, and but tremendous ultrium. The Upanishads had very little kingdom, although they were discovered by kings that held all the royal powers in their hands. So the struggle began to be fiercer. To be fiercer. Its culminating point came 2000 years after in Buddhism. The seed of Buddhism is here in the original struggle between the king and the priest, and in the struggle, all religions declined. One wanted to sacrifice religion, the other wanted to cling up to the sacrifice, to Vedic gods, etc. Buddhism broke the chain of the masses. All castes and creeds alike became equal in a minute. So the great religious idea in India exists, but have yet to be preached. Otherwise, they do not do no good. In every country, it is a priest who is conservative for two reasons: because it is his bread and because he he can only move with the people. All the priests are not strong. If the people say, preach 2000 gods, the priest will do it. They are the servant of the congregations who pay them. God does not pay them. So blame yourself before blaming the priest. You can only get the government and the religion and the priesthood you deserve and no better. So the great struggle began in India, and it comes to one of the culminating point in the Gita, when it was causing fear that all India was going to be broken by up between the two groups. There rose this man Krishna, and in the Gita he tries to reconcile the ceremony and the philosophy of the priest and the people. The Krishna is loved and worshipped in the same way as you do for the Christ. The difference is only in the ages. Hindus keep the birth of Krishna as you do Christ. Krishna lived 5000 years ago and his life is full of miracles, and some of them very similar to those of the life of Christ. The child was born in the prison. Father took him away and put him with the shepherds. All children born in that year were ordered to kill. He was killed. That was his fate. Krishna was a married man. Were thousands of books about him. They do not interest me much. The Hindus are great in telling stories, you see. If the Christian missionaries tell one story from the Bible, the Hindus will proceed 20 stories. You say the whale swallowing John. The Hindus say someone swallowed an elephant. Since I was a child, I have heard about Krishna's life. I take it for granted I take it for granted there must have been a man called Krishna, and his Gita shows he has left a wonderful book. I told you you can understand the characteristic of a man by analyzing the fable about him. The fables have the nature of decoration. You must find they are all polished and manipulated to fit into the character. For instance, take Buddha. The central idea is sacrifice. There are thousand folklores, but in every case, the sacrifice must have been kept up. There are thousands of stories about Lincoln, about some characteristic of that great man. You take all the fables and find the general idea and know that that was a central character of the man. You find in Krishna that non attachment is the central idea. He does not need anything, he does not want anything. He works for work's sake, works for work's sake, worship for worship's sake. Do good because it is good to do good. Ask no more. That must have been the characteristic of the man. Otherwise, this fable could not be brought down to the one idea of non attachment. The Gita is not his only sermon. He is the most surrounded man I know of, wonderfully developed equally in brain and heart and hand. Every movement of his is alive with activity, either as a gentleman, warrior, minister, or something else. Great as gentleman, great as a gentleman, as a scholar, as a poet. This all-rounded and wonderful activities and combination of brain and heart you see in the Gita and other books. Most wonderful heart, exquisite language, and nothing can approach it anywhere. This tremendous activity of man, the impression is still there. 5,000 years have passed, and he has influenced millions and millions. Just think what an influence this man has over the whole world, whether you know it or not. My regards for him is for his perfect sanity. No cobwebs in that brain, no superstitions. He knows the use of everything, and when it is necessary to assign a place to each, he is there. Those that talk go everywhere. Question about the mystery of the Vedas, etc. They do not know the truth. They are no better than frauds. There is a place in the Vedas even for superstitions, for ignorance. The whole secret is to find out the proper place for everything. Then that heart, he is the first man, way before Buddha, to open the door of religion to every caste. That wonderful mind, that tremendously active life, Buddha's activity was on one plane, the plane of teaching. He could not keep his wife and child and become a teacher at the same time. Krishna preached in the midst of the battlefield. He who is the midst of the intensive activity finds himself in the greatest calmness, and the greatest peace finds himself in intensive activity. That is the greatest yogi as well as the wisest man. It means nothing to this man, the flying of missiles about him. Calm and sedate, Calm and sedate he goes on discussing the problems of life and death. Each one of the prophet is the best commentary on his own teaching. If you want to know what is meant by the doctrine of the New Testament, you go to Mr. So and so, but read again and again and the four Gospels and try to understand their import in the light of the wonderful life of the Master has depicted there. The great men think, and you and I also think, but there is a difference. We think and our body do not follow. Our action do not harmonize with our thoughts. Our words have not the power of the words of that becomes Vedas. Whatever they think must be accomplished. If they say, I do this, the body does it. Perfect obedience. This is the end. You can think yourself God is in minute, but you can think yourself God in 1 minute, but you cannot be God. There is a difficulty. They become what they think. We will become only by degrees. You see, that was about Krishna and his time. In the next lecture, we will know more about this book.